Gemini, what you release now makes you lighter immediately. What you are carrying right now was never meant to stay this long. And the moment you finally set it down, you will feel a shift so deep that your entire body will know it was the right move. If you are a Gemini or have strong Gemini energy in your chart, this message is arriving at the exact moment it was supposed to. There is something you have been holding on to. A thought, a habit, a connection, a version of yourself. And it has grown heavier with every passing day. You might not even realize how much weight it adds because you have been carrying it for so long that it feels normal. But it is not normal. It is not natural. And it is definitely not permanent. The truth is, you have already sensed that something needs to change. You have felt it in quiet moments, in those late nights when your mind races through every possibility, in those mornings when getting started feels harder than it should. That heaviness is not who you are. It is what you have been allowing to stay attached to you. And right now, the energy around you is practically begging you to let go. This is not about losing something. This is about gaining everything that has been waiting on the other side of your grip. What you are about to hear will show you exactly what needs to be released, why it has been holding you back, and how to walk forward feeling lighter than you have in a very long time. Stay with me through every single tip because the last one ties everything together in a way you will not expect. Tip 1. Release the need to explain yourself to everyone around you. Gemini, you have spent so much of your life translating your thoughts, your decisions, and your feelings into language that other people can understand. And honestly, you are remarkably good at it. Your mind works fast. Your words come easily. You can take the most complicated internal experience and turn it into something that sounds clear and reasonable. But here is where it has started to hurt you. You have begun to believe that if you do not explain yourself, people will misunderstand you. And that fear of being misunderstood has turned into a compulsion. Every time you make a choice that surprises someone, you feel the pull to justify it. Every time you change your mind, which is something you're signed as naturally and beautifully, you feel the need to provide a detailed rationale so no one thinks you are flaky or unreliable. Every time you set a boundary, you soften it with a paragraph of reasoning, so the other person does not feel rejected. And what has that cost you? Energy. A tremendous amount of energy. Think about how many conversations you have had in the past month alone where the majority of your words were not about expressing what you actually felt, but about managing how someone else might feel about what you felt. That is exhausting. That is a weight you have been carrying without even naming it. The truth is, the right people in your life do not need a 5-minute explanation for every decision you make. They trust you. They know your character. They have seen enough of who you are to give you the benefit of the doubt. And the people who constantly require you to justify yourself, those are the people whose presence in your life you should be questioning, not your own choices. This does not mean you stop communicating. Communication is one of your greatest gifts, and no one is asking you to shut down. But there is an enormous difference between sharing because you want to and explaining because you feel you have to. One comes from openness, the other comes from fear. And fear-based communication drains you in ways that are hard to measure but easy to feel. Starting now, practice making decisions and simply letting them stand. Say what you need to say and stop before the justification begins. Notice the urge to over-explain and choose silence instead. Not cold silence. Not passive-aggressive silence. Just the kind of peaceful quiet that says, I trust myself enough to let this breathe. You will be shocked at how much lighter you feel when you stop performing your reasoning for an audience. Your energy is not meant to be spent convincing people that your choices are valid. Your energy is meant to be spent living those choices fully. Release the need to explain, and you reclaim hours of mental space you did not even know you had lost. That space is where your next chapter begins. Tip 2. Release the old version of yourself that people still expect you to be. There is a version of you that no longer exists. It might be the version that said yes to everything. It might be the version that stayed quiet to keep the peace. It might be the version that laughed things off instead of admitting they hurt. Whatever that old version looked like, some of the people in your life are still relating to it. They still expect you to react the way you used to. They still bring the same energy they brought 5 years ago, assuming it will land the same way. And when it does not, they act confused. Or worse, they act offended. This is one of the heaviest things a Gemini can carry. The expectations of people who have not kept up with your growth. Because you have grown. You have changed in ways that are profound and real, even if they happen quietly. You process things differently now. You value different things. Your tolerance for certain behaviors has shifted. And yet, there is a part of you that still tries to fit into the mold those people created for you, just to avoid the discomfort of their surprise. But here is what that costs you. Every time you shrink back into an outdated version of yourself to make someone else comfortable, you betray the version of you that fought hard to evolve. You send a message to your own spirit that says, their comfort matters more than your truth. And your spirit hears that, feels it, and over time it starts to quiet down, which is the last thing you want. Your evolution is not something you need to apologize for. You are not required to be who you were at 25 or 35 or even who you were last year. Growth is not a betrayal. It is the most honest thing a person can do. And if someone cannot handle the current version of you, that does not mean you have changed too much. It means the relationship has not changed enough. Releasing this old version does not mean you reject your past. Your past shaped you, taught you, but you are not meant to live in it permanently. You are meant to take the lessons and keep walking. Some people will walk with you, some will stay behind, and both of those outcomes are acceptable. What is not acceptable is dimming yourself to make an outdated dynamic feel comfortable. You have already done enough of that. Let the old version rest. Let the people who need that version grieve it if they must. But do not resurrect something that is no longer alive inside you just to maintain a connection that is not honoring who you have become. The weight of pretending is heavier than the weight of change. And you deserve to move forward without dragging a ghost behind you. If what you're hearing feels accurate, imagine what could happen if you applied this energy intentionally for 21 consecutive days. That's exactly what the 21-day program in the pinned comment is built for. Daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you're tired of staying in the same cycle, this is your structure. Tip 3. Release the habit of overthinking conversations that have already ended. If there is one thing your mind excels at, Gemini, it is replaying. You can take a conversation from 3 days ago and run it through your mental processor 100 times, examining every word, every pause, every shift in tone. You analyze what you said, what you should have said, what the other person meant, what they might have meant, and what you would say if you could do it all over again. And while that level of mental depth can be useful in certain situations, it has become a trap. Because most of the conversations you are replaying are already finished. They are done. The other person has moved on. They are not lying awake thinking about that one sentence the way you are. They are not dissecting your word choices or reading between your lines. They said what they said, you said what you said, and life continued. But your mind kept going, kept looping. It kept searching for hidden meanings and missed signals and unresolved tensions that may not even exist outside of your own head. This is a weight you carry daily, and you might not even recognize it as weight because it feels like thinking, feels productive. It feels like you are being careful or thorough or emotionally intelligent. But there is a line between reflection and rumination, and you crossed it a long time ago. Reflection has a purpose. It leads to insight, to growth, to a clearer understanding of yourself and others. Rumination has no purpose. It loops endlessly without resolution. It does not give you answers. It gives you anxiety. It does not clarify your feelings. It multiplies them until you cannot tell which feeling is real and which one was manufactured by the replay. Here is what you need to hear. You are allowed to let conversations end. You are allowed to walk away from an interaction without fully understanding every layer of it. You are allowed to accept that some things are ambiguous and that ambiguity does not mean danger. Not every unclear moment is a warning sign. Sometimes it is just a moment. Sometimes people say things without deep intention. Sometimes silence is just silence. Train yourself to recognize when your mind shifts from reflecting to replaying. When you catch it, interrupt the loop. Not with force, but with a gentle redirection. Ask yourself, is there something I need to do about this, or am I just spinning? If there is nothing to do, let it go. Let the conversation rest where it ended. And here is something else that might help you. Most of the things you worry you said wrong, the other person did not even register. That sentence you have been agonizing over for days, they forgot it before they finished their next meal. That awkward pause you keep reliving, they filled it with their own thoughts and moved on. The meaning you are desperately trying to decode, it might not be there at all. Your mind creates significance where none was intended, and then punishes you for not being able to solve a puzzle that does not exist. You deserve better than that. You deserve a mind that works for you, not against you. And the first step toward that is learning to close the file. Not delete it. Close it. Acknowledge the conversation happened, accept that it was imperfect the way all human interactions are imperfect, and then consciously redirect your attention to something present and real. Your mental energy is one of your most valuable resources, and you have been spending it on moments that no longer exist. Reclaim that energy. Use it for what is in front of you, not what is behind you. The conversations that matter will make themselves clear. The ones that do not matter will fade on their own if you let them. Tip 4. Release the fear that slowing down means falling behind. You live at a pace that most people cannot match. Your mind moves quickly. Your interests shift. Your curiosity pulls you in 10 directions at once, and you somehow manage to keep up with most of them. But underneath that speed, there is a fear you rarely talk about. The fear that if you slow down even for a moment, everything will pass you by. That fear keeps you running. It keeps you saying yes to things you do not actually want. It keeps you filling your schedule with activities and obligations and projects that drain you, simply because an empty space on your calendar feels like failure. It keeps you scrolling, searching, consuming, and moving, not because it brings you joy, but because stopping feels dangerous. But here is the truth that your nervous system already knows, even if your mind has not caught up. You are exhausted. Not the kind of exhausted that a weekend of rest can fix. The kind of exhausted that comes from years of equating your worth with your output. The kind that lives in your bones, in the tension you carry in your shoulders, in the way your thoughts speed up right when you are trying to fall asleep. Slowing down does not mean falling behind. It means catching up with yourself. It means giving your body the chance to process what your mind has been racing through. It means allowing your emotions to surface instead of being outrun by your next task. It means sitting with who you are when you are not performing, not producing, not achieving. And that version of you, the quiet, still present version, is not less valuable. It is actually the version that knows exactly what you need next. The version that has been trying to whisper to you, but could not be heard over the noise. When you slow down, you do not lose momentum. You gain clarity. You stop running toward things that do not actually serve you. You start recognizing which opportunities are aligned and which are just distractions dressed up as progress. You begin to hear your own voice again. Not the one that responds to the world, but the one that speaks from your center. Give yourself permission to pause. Not forever, not even for long. Just long enough to feel your own feet on the ground. Just long enough to take a breath that is not squeezed between two obligations. Just long enough to remember that you are a human being, not a human doing. And when you do pause, notice what happens. Notice the silence that is not empty but full. Full of things you have been too busy to hear. Full of insights that have been waiting for you to stop moving long enough to receive them. Full of a peace that does not come from accomplishment but simply from being. That peace is not laziness. It is not complacency. It is the foundation that makes everything else sustainable. Without it, you are building on sand. With it, every step you take is grounded and intentional. The world will not leave you behind. But if you keep running at this pace, you might leave yourself behind. And that is the one loss you cannot afford. Tip 5. Release the relationships that only work when you are the one making effort. You already know which relationships these are. You have known for a while. They are the ones where you initiate every conversation. The ones where you check in, you reach out, you make plans, you send the message, you hold the space. And when you stop, silence. Complete echoing silence. Not because the other person forgot. Not because they are going through something. But because, without your effort, there is no relationship at all. This is a painful realization for Gemini, because connection is at the core of who you are. You thrive on exchange, on dialogue, on the back and forth of meaningful interaction. And because you value it so deeply, you have often been willing to carry more than your share just to keep it alive. You have told yourself that people express love differently. You have made excuses for their absence. You have lowered your expectations to match their effort rather than raising the standard to match your own. But there comes a point where understanding becomes enabling, where patience becomes self-neglect, where the grace you extend to others is grace you are withholding from yourself. The relationships that drain you are not the ones filled with conflict. They are the ones filled with silence that you keep trying to break. They are the ones where you give energy and receive nothing back, not even acknowledgement. They are the ones where your presence is expected but never appreciated, where your absence is noticed only when something is needed from you. Letting go of these relationships does not mean you are cold. It does not mean you have given up on love or loyalty. It means you have finally recognized that you deserve the same energy you have been giving. It means you are choosing to stop watering dead plants and start tending to the ones that are actually growing. This might feel lonely at first. That is normal. When you remove connections that have been filling space without filling your spirit, there will be an emptiness. But that emptiness is not a loss. It is a clearing. It is room for the people who do not need to be chased, who show up without being asked, who match your energy because they value you, not just what you do for them. There is also something deeper happening here that you might not have considered. When you carry relationships that do not reciprocate, you are unconsciously telling yourself that this is what you deserve. Every time you accept silence where there should be conversation, every time you tolerate neglect where there should be care, you are reinforcing a belief that your needs are secondary. That belief does not stay contained in one relationship. It bleeds into everything. It affects how you show up at work, how you advocate for yourself, how you allow others to treat you in every area of life. Releasing one-sided connections is not just about those specific people. It is about breaking a pattern that has been quietly defining your sense of worth. Release the one-sided connections, not with anger, not with a dramatic exit, just with a quiet decision to stop being the only one who tries. The right people will notice, the wrong ones will not, and both responses will tell you exactly where you stand. Tip 6. Release the guilt you carry for putting yourself first. Somewhere along the way, you learned that being a good person means putting others ahead of yourself. You learned that saying no is selfish, that having needs is inconvenient, that your job is to make sure everyone else is comfortable, even if you are falling apart behind the scenes. And because your mind is so quick and your communication skills are so strong, you became the person everyone turns to. The listener, the advisor, the one who always has the right words, the one who holds everything together while quietly cracking underneath. But the guilt you feel every time you choose yourself, that guilt is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is a sign that you were taught something wrong. You were taught that self-sacrifice equals love, that your worth comes from what you provide, not from who you are, that rest is earned, not given, that your needs come last, and if there is nothing left after everyone else has been taken care of, that is just how it goes. That belief is a prison, Gemini, and you have been living in it so long that the bars feel like walls you built yourself. But you did not build them. They were built by expectations that were never fair to begin with. Expectations placed on you by people who benefited from your selflessness. Expectations you internalized until they became your own voice, whispering that you are not allowed to rest, not allowed to say no, not allowed to choose yourself without feeling like you are abandoning someone. Hear this clearly. Putting yourself first is not abandonment. It is survival. It is the foundation of every healthy relationship you will ever have. Because you cannot pour from an empty vessel, and yours has been running low for longer than you want to admit. The people who truly love you will not be threatened by your boundaries. They will not be upset when you take time for yourself. They will not make you feel guilty for prioritizing your own healing and peace. And if they do, that tells you something important about the nature of that connection. Start small if you need to. Say no to one thing this week that you would normally say yes to out of obligation. Take 1 hour that belongs entirely to you, with no agenda and no guilt. Let yourself rest without earning it first. And watch how the guilt rises, because it will. And then watch how it passes, because it will do that too. On the other side of that guilt is a freedom you have not felt in years. A lightness that comes from finally treating yourself the way you treat everyone else. You deserve that. You have always deserved it. And releasing the guilt is the first step toward believing it. Tip 7. Release the need to have everything figured out before you begin. Your mind loves a plan. It loves to map things out, consider every angle, anticipate every possible outcome, and prepare for every scenario before taking a single step. And in many ways, that tendency has served you well. It has helped you avoid mistakes, navigate complex situations, and make decisions that feel thoughtful and informed. But there is a shadow side to that planning instinct, and it has been growing louder lately. Tells you that you are not ready. It tells you that you need more information, more time, more clarity before you can move forward. It disguises procrastination as preparation and fear as caution, and you have been listening to it for too long. The truth is, you will never have everything figured out. No one does. The people who seem to have it all together are simply the ones who decided to start before they felt ready. They moved forward with incomplete information and adjusted as they went. They made mistakes and corrected course. They did not wait for certainty because they understood that certainty is a myth, especially for a sign like yours, where new information arrives constantly and every answer opens 10 more questions. You have been standing at the edge of something for a while now. A project, a conversation, a life change, a creative idea, a decision about your future. And you have been telling yourself that you are not ready, that you need to think about it more, that the timing is not quite right. But what if the thinking is not bringing you closer to readiness? What if the thinking is actually keeping you stuck? There is a difference between thoughtful preparation and avoidance, and you know which one you have been doing. You know because the thing you are preparing for feels further away now than it did months ago. You know because every time you sit down to plan, you end up with more questions than answers. You know because the energy around this decision does not feel like anticipation anymore. It feels like dread. That dread is not a warning. It is the weight of delay. It is the pressure of unexpressed potential building up inside you with nowhere to go. And the only way to relieve it is to begin. Not perfectly. Not with a complete blueprint. Just begin. Take the first step and trust that the second one will reveal itself. Trust your ability to adapt because adapting is literally what you were built for. Gemini energy is not rigid. It is fluid. It bends, it shifts, it finds new paths when old ones close. You do not need a perfect plan. You need permission to move. And this is that permission. Start messy. Start scared. Start confused. Just start. Tip 8. Release the stories you keep telling yourself about what you cannot do. Every person carries a narrative about themselves. It is the story you tell when you are alone with your thoughts, the one that plays on repeat when you face a challenge or consider something new. For Gemini, that narrative often sounds deceptively rational. It does not come as a dramatic inner critic. It comes as a calm, reasonable voice that says, "That is just not who I am," or "I have never been good at that," or "People like me do not do things like that." And because it sounds reasonable, you believe it. You do not question it. You do not test it. You simply accept it as fact and move on, never realizing that you just closed a door that was wide open. These stories are not facts, Gemini. They are habits. They are conclusions you drew from limited evidence, usually during moments of failure or rejection, and then carried forward as permanent truths about who you are. You tried something once and it did not work, so you decided you were bad at it. Someone told you something about yourself during a vulnerable moment, and you absorbed it into your identity. A pattern repeated a few times, and you declared it unchangeable. But patterns are not destiny. Past failures are not prophecies. And the voice that tells you what you cannot do is not protecting you. It is containing you. It is keeping you inside a box that was built by old experiences and outdated beliefs. A box that has nothing to do with who you are right now, or who you are capable of becoming. Think about the things you have told yourself you cannot do. Write them down if you need to. Then ask yourself, when was the last time you actually tried? Not thought about trying. Not considered trying. Actually tried with full effort and genuine commitment. For most of those things, the answer is either never or so long ago that you were a completely different person. You have changed since then. Your skills have grown. Your understanding has deepened. Your capacity has expanded in ways you do not give yourself credit for. The limitations you believe in are echoes, not realities. They are the reverberations of moments that already ended, still bouncing around inside your mind because you never stopped to question them. Question them now. Challenge the story. Try the thing you told yourself you could not do. And if it does not work, try it differently. Failure is not confirmation of your limitations. It is information. It is feedback. It is a teacher, not a judge. The only thing truly holding you back is the narrative you have accepted about yourself. And narratives can be rewritten. You are a communicator. Words are your domain. Use that power on yourself. Tell yourself a new story. One that includes possibility, growth, and the understanding that you are not finished yet. Not even close. Some people watch. others transform. If you want to be in the second group, the 21-day guide in the pinned comment gives you a clear step-by-step process aligned with your sign. This isn't about waiting, it's about moving. Tip 9. Release the habit of absorbing other people's emotional energy. You feel things, Gemini. More than people expect, more than you show, and far more than you probably admit. Beneath that quick wit and that active mind, there is an emotional depth that catches even you by surprise sometimes. And one of the side effects of that depth is that you absorb the energy of the people around you. Not intentionally, not consciously, but constantly. You walk into a room and within minutes, you can feel the tension, the sadness, the anxiety, the excitement. You sit across from someone who is struggling, and by the time the conversation ends, their heaviness is sitting on your chest like it belongs to you. You scroll through messages filled with someone else's drama, and suddenly your mood has shifted, your thoughts have darkened, and you cannot figure out why you feel so drained. This is not a flaw. It is a sensitivity, and when managed well, it is a gift. It makes you an incredible friend, a perceptive partner, and someone who understands people on a level that goes beyond words. But when left unmanaged, it becomes a sponge effect that leaves you carrying emotions that were never yours to carry. And that is exactly what has been happening. You have been absorbing the stress of people around you without realizing it. Their worries have become your worries. Their conflicts have become your mental background noise. Their emotional states have been dictating your emotional states. And you have been so busy processing their feelings that you have lost track of your own. This has to stop. Not because you should stop caring, not because you should shut down your sensitivity or build walls around your heart, but because there is a difference between empathy and absorption. Empathy allows you to understand what someone is feeling while remaining grounded in your own experience. Absorption means you take their feeling into your body and carry it as if it were yours. Empathy is sustainable. Absorption is destructive. Learn to notice the moment when someone else's energy starts to merge with yours. It usually happens in the chest or the stomach. A tightness that was not there before. A mood shift that does not match anything happening in your own life. A sudden fatigue that descends right after a conversation with someone who is upset. When you notice it, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this mine? And if the answer is no, consciously let it go. You do not need to fix everyone. You do not need to carry everyone. Your love can be expressed through presence without taking on their pain as your own. There is also a practical element to this that matters. When you are constantly absorbing other people's emotional states, you lose the ability to make clear decisions for your own life. Your judgment becomes clouded. Your priorities become confused. You start solving problems that are not yours while your own challenges sit unaddressed. You pour energy into soothing other people's pain while your own wounds go untended. And over time, you lose touch with what you actually feel versus what you have absorbed. That disconnection from your own emotional truth is one of the most disorienting experiences a Gemini can have, because your identity is so tied to understanding and communicating feelings. When you cannot tell which feelings are yours, you feel lost in a way that is difficult to explain to anyone else. Releasing this pattern reconnects you to yourself. It does not make you less compassionate. It makes you more effective in your compassion because you are offering it from a place of fullness rather than depletion. Release the absorption. Keep the empathy. And watch how much energy returns to you when you stop carrying emotions that were never meant for your shoulders. You will feel the difference within days. And the people around you will actually benefit more from a Gemini who is grounded and clear than from one who is drowning in everyone else's storms. Tip 10. Release the belief that your best days are behind you. This is the one that sits deepest, Gemini. And it might be the one you are least willing to admit. But somewhere in the quiet corners of your mind, there is a whisper that says your best moments have already happened. That the most exciting, most alive, most vibrant version of your life has already played out. That everything from here is just maintenance, settling, getting through the days without the spark that used to come so naturally. That belief is a lie, and it is the heaviest thing you are carrying. It is heavier than the overthinking, heavier than the guilt, heavier than the one-sided relationships and the absorbed emotions and all the other weights we have talked about today. Because this one attacks your future. It takes the most powerful thing you have, your ability to imagine and create what comes next, and shuts it down before it even begins. Why plan for something beautiful if you believe beauty is behind you? Why dream about a new chapter if you are convinced the best chapters are already written? Why hope if hope feels like setting yourself up for disappointment? But here is what you are missing. The version of you that experienced those best days had less wisdom than you have now. Less understanding, less depth, less resilience, less knowledge of who you are and what you actually want. You are more equipped now than you have ever been to create a life that genuinely fulfills you. Not the version of fulfillment you were chasing in your 20s or 30s, the one shaped by other people's definitions of success. The real version, the one that fits your actual values, your actual needs, your actual rhythm. The best days you remember were beautiful, yes, but they were also filtered through nostalgia. You remember the highlight reel. You forget the anxiety that accompanied those moments, the uncertainty, the parts that were not as golden as your memory has made them. Your mind has a tendency to romanticize the past and catastrophize the future, and together those two tendencies create the illusion that right now is the worst place to be. But right now is the only place where your power exists. Yesterday is a memory. Tomorrow is an imagination. Right now is where you breathe, where you choose, where you create. And right now, you are reading these words because something in you knows that the story is not over. Something in you still believes, even if quietly, that there is more. And there is. So much more. The chapters ahead of you are not reruns of what has already happened. They are entirely new. Written by a version of you that has survived everything, learned from everything, and is finally ready to stop looking back and start building forward. You do not need to recreate what was. You need to create what has never been. Something new. Something that reflects the person you are now, with all of your scars and all of your wisdom, and all of your hard-earned understanding of what truly matters. The life ahead of you is not a repeat. It is an original, and you are the only one who can write it. So stop looking in the rearview mirror as if the road behind you was the only beautiful stretch. The road ahead has views you have not even imagined yet, turns that will surprise you, destinations that will fill you in ways the old ones never could. Your best days are not behind you, Gemini. They are waiting for you to believe in them so they can begin. And believe me, they are closer than you think. Everything you have heard today points to the same truth. The weight you are carrying is not permanent. It is not part of who you are. It is something that attached itself to you over time through habits, through fears, through relationships that asked too much and gave too little, through beliefs that were never yours to begin with. And every single piece of that weight can be released. Not all at once, not perfectly, but steadily, intentionally, with the kind of quiet courage that does not need applause to keep going. You are not being asked to become a different person. You are being asked to let go of everything that is preventing you from being the person you already are underneath it all. The one who is lighter, the one who is clearer, the one who wakes up in the morning with space in their chest instead of tightness, the one who moves through the day without dragging the past behind them like a chain they forgot they could unlock. That person is not a future fantasy. That person is you, right now, beneath the layers. And every tip you heard today was a key to one of those layers, one of those locks, one of those doors you have been standing in front of but never quite opened. You do not need to wait for the right moment. You do not need to prepare more. You do not need anyone else's permission or approval or understanding. You just need to decide. Decide that the heaviness ends here. Decide that you will stop explaining, stop pretending, stop overthinking, stop absorbing, stop shrinking. Decide that from this moment forward, you will move through life with only what truly belongs to you. Your truth, your energy, your vision, your peace. The universe has been clearing the path for you. The energy of this period is not subtle. It is direct, it is powerful, and it is specifically aligned with your sign's ability to adapt, to communicate, and to transform. Everything around you is supporting this shift. The only thing left is for you to step into it. And you can. You absolutely can. You have two options after this video. Close it and hope things shift. Or decide that the next 21 days will be different. If you choose the second, the structured 21-day transformation aligned with your sign is waiting in the pinned comment. The energy is already moving, the only question is whether you are.